Thunderstorm outside, rain pouring, kitty somewhere around here, and a bed in the loft. How cool is this? Hello everyone, and welcome back once again to Minecraft Creepy Comfy Creative World. And we have a whole lot more opportunities to be creative now because for the first time in a long time, I've gone ahead and installed us a whole bunch of new mods. One of them being Macaw's Roofs. Now, it's pretty rare for me to add new mods at this point because this thing is hanging on by a thread and I'll do anything to keep it stable. But all of this does seem to be working. In fact, there's a bunch of new Macaw's mods. What's cool about these is that Macaw's Roofs also include stuff like skylights, which can be opened. It even lets rain in when you have these open. That is awesome. You can fly up and out. Unbelievable. They don't mesh super well with the stairs, but we can do a bunch of replacements as needed. But those aren't the only things we have. So in total, we have Macaw's Windows, which adds a whole bunch of windows and window accessories for us to play with, curtains, all this stuff. Trapdoors, which just gives us a little more variety there. Roofs, which I have already told you about. And lights and lamps, which gives us a bunch of new lighting options, including ceiling fans, all that stuff. So many opportunities for comfy. They were outcast by the town, but remembered for their love. We have a handful of grave change requests, although no actual new ones for change. I don't know, maybe it's something we started putting in the water. People are living longer. But yeah, a couple of changes made. Actually, of course, as soon as I finally relent and start making room to expand, we don't need to. But of course, the town itself always needs to expand. So we're going to start looking for something to build now. Not to mention, we can also go back and edit any number of structures. Roofing has always been, like, the most annoying thing for me. Because we have to do it with slabs, which is annoying to begin with. But then when it comes to advanced placements... Oh, look at that. There's a crafting ingredient, 4-pane base. So I guess that's all for survival. A window hammer, which changes shape, and a key, which can be used to lock them. Hang on, this is really, really cool. Let's step into the safety of the police station and try some of this stuff out. This is exciting. Oops. So we can now lock it. Can we crawl through here? We certainly can. And what about changing shape? Well, maybe that's more of a survival thing. Oh, look at that! These have bars that can come down. Wait, what if we stack them? They stack. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. They don't stack left to right. I don't know if maybe some of them do, but vertically? Oh, we can probably... I bet we can use these over at Building 93. There's a bunch of these. I would love to have a brick one of these, though. Look at this. We can even have, like, rain gutters. Imagine if these actually work. I mean, they're purely aesthetic. Although they do actually seem to stack in different directions in a cool way. We can angle them. Seemingly always angle them. Wait, so how do we do that, then? What if I just want you to go forward? And maybe you automatically contour. Like that. Well, we can... Look at that! We can use that for pipes! It effectively is just an open pipe. But yeah, I was gonna use different... I forgot about you, headless ghost. I was gonna do new windows on here, but it seems like you can't change the color of the glass, which would be nice. And I know that's the issue, I think, with making new mods for Minecraft, is that if you're gonna have vanilla-like blocks, you need to be able to replace, like, every vanilla-like, and that's hard to do. That's a lot. We can have little shutters and blinds. Hey, we actually have somebody roaming the street. It's the Omega Man, just call him Charlton Heston. I think what's needed is an expansion to Possum Springs, because it was very much built as 2D into 3D, and the illusion doesn't exactly work. So I'm thinking we'll have a road that expands out through here. This is the widest part between buildings. And it's still gonna work in kind of a 2D way. I think we'll have buildings on this side, but not this side. This was meant to be covered up, but come on, we can't cover this up. This is way too cool. It's way too ominous. Can you imagine the stories that would exist in town around this place? So yeah, we're gonna be doing that. And I'm thinking about how to do this in a way that makes some kind of geometric sense. And part of me just sort of thinks I'm not going to make geometric sense and it'll be more fun that way. Alright, the road is flattened and ready to go. Wait till you see this. Look at it. Look at it. Have you ever seen such a beautiful feat of engineering? No, you haven't. It's impossible. And if we just extend along here, that'll give us plenty of room to add new buildings, have it go around. And is there... No, the road actually doesn't extend any further along here, and it's not going to because we are actually so close to encroaching on the mine. It's crazy to think that when I built the mine, I was like, okay, I'm going way far out. This was before Possum Springs, before the school, and now it's not far out at all. 15 minutes ago, we sent out flyers to the person at the desk of every apartment building on the block, so I don't want to hear any noise or personal injury complaints. There we go. That might not actually get them all off. No, we got it. Like I said, I don't want to hear any complaints. If anything, this should serve as an advertisement for Possum Springs. We have the most resilient buildings on the block. Okay, so from here, we just start working out what we want to go in this slot. It's gonna go here. It's gonna be one more tall building, but it's gonna become more of a sprawl over here. Because I don't want anything to stand out too much next to the tower. Or the water tower, I mean. Landmarks gotta stay landmarks. But I also have to be careful that I don't constrain myself too much. I mean, if I'm constantly building so that I don't interrupt something else's space, well, that's gonna... It's weird how much that's been a factor in such a wide-open sandbox. Is any of this actually gonna work the way I want it to? Who knows? All I know is that we're gonna have one side of this kind of extended. The real meat of this is gonna be over here, and you're gonna start seeing it take shape above ground. But the entrance is gonna be more over here. And ever since doing the police station, I'm pretty partial to doing, like, staircases that go up one level. These windows are going to be blocked, but you know what? That's eminent domain. It's a pain. Oh, hey, your window is broken. Okay, you might be the only one that's actually entitled to a claim from us. You know, if the shattered glass went into your eyeballs or something. So there's our entryway, and we're gonna, from here on out, build up with just bricks. But this curved area, this is going to be something a little bit different once we get going. So the plan here is that these guys are going to be their own, just like corners that are glass going way up into the sky. I love the idea of that. I still have no idea if this is going to be apartments or what. And I don't know, maybe some kind of hybrid. Maybe some kind of hybrid commercial residential. The important thing is that, like, when looking from this way, I wanted it to look cool. Which is weird because there's nothing out there, but also sometimes people are out there. That's the lesson of the last episode. You have reason to spend time in nature now. It's a horrifying dystopia. I am actually starting to hatch an idea of what this is going to be. And I think this is way too cool to not remain open. Look at the Firewatch Tower framed up in there. Resizable window. Aha, look at that! essentially tileable panes. We can do whatever we want with it. It doesn't open, but yeah, that actually works fine. All right, so what we need to know next is how does this interact with walls? Because I was looking at the old, the city hall, and we did stuff with that I have not done in a long time. You do sit within walls. Buildings have come to lack detail compared to some of the earlier stuff, so by doing stuff like this, it'll just give it a more interesting sense of depth. Not to mention, we can do stuff like this. I'm still not entirely sure how these things are going to be placed, but look how not Minecraft this looks. It's several layers of things just snapping together and working. Outer wall's complete, and now the time has come to start kind of trying to decide on a floor plan. I already have an idea of what I want to do here. The issue then is going to be how it all connects. I love elevation changes along a single floor, and when you're working with a building that's along a slope, you might as well use that to your advantage. I'm also using colors like this just because I realized it looks really cool how there's like a pattern there, but there's also a pattern from the way the sun falls through. So that's going to look really cool at different times of day. But actually, what I'm thinking now is this is probably only going to come out to about here. Yeah, no, let's knock these back a little bit. The windows that we place along here can still be consistent, but it's way better if we come away from these things a little. All right, so there's our floor shape. It's a little bit asymmetrical by design. And these are basically luxury high-end apartments, so there's only going to be 2 per floor. And what I really wanted to be the standout feature of this, it would have been better if this room were longer and wider. But if we're going to get creative with it, let's open up these corners. One-way glass pane. I'm curious to know what this does. Definitely behaves strangely, like it doesn't corner. And it's got a particular color. Alright, well, anyway, that's not what I'm trying to do right now, regardless. So, let's go like that. Alright, I had forgotten, there are also these different mosaic glass colors. Ah, I see. So you can view through that way, and that's really neat. That's really neat. Okay, potentially useful in the future. But right now, all I care about is little glass rails for a little glass balcony. Had a rough start, but it's working. The other question is going to be, what do we do with these windows when the time comes? Well, we may as well start poking holes right now. There's what we do with this. Perfect. The wall may not be in the same place, but they do have this innermost part in common. So there we go. Come on, how awesome looking is that? Indoor balconies, or indoor-outdoor rather, that is something I have always been partial to. I think I used to be making a creepy town with creepy stuff, but sometimes you just gotta do cool things if you're making a city. Yeah, I definitely think andesite looks more appropriate. It's all about breaking up the texture. There we are. We're gonna need to figure out what to do down low, though. Since bridges always seem to be kind of the point of interest, let's see what this is looking like. Yeah, this is gonna start to solve the problem that I was having. The issue of Possum Springs looking too two-dimensional from a distance. How about the Firewatch Tower? This might be a little far. But no. No. See, this is actually exactly what I wanted. The glass and the rims kind of break up the monotonous brick texture from this angle. It's still short enough that from lower places, the water tower's position as king of the castle is preserved. But it adds more of a horizon in between the gaps in the trees. Alright, this actually worked out even better than anticipated, and now I can't see a thing. I should probably get over there and put on the roof before it starts soaking into the carpet. This place is going to have a mold problem forever. You know, I always forget you're a thing. I so rarely see you. I've been recording for quite a while now. But all it needs now is a roof. And now it's just a question of how to do it. Well, we need to kind of relearn how to do it, don't we? Because we've got a whole lot new tool belt at our disposal. That was a sentence. You can have it. I don't want it anymore. Aha. So there are different types of roof here, and we need to combine them sort of correctly. One cool thing is that it does also just come with roof blocks, so you can cap these off flatly if you need to. And I don't really see the need to do anything fancy with this. I just like how these things connect together, you know? Here's something we might try. Ooh, I like that. Let's do this. Put that in, or rather, knock these out first. And now you got this. You also use that to jump in. Oops. And yeah, look at that! It actually does prevent rain from falling through. Meaning you don't have to double up. Okay, this is huge for that alone. Oh, what a view, huh? Well, now we have the unenviable task of lighting this place, but even that should be a lot easier now, because we have Macaw's lights. So a lot of this looks a lot like the stuff we already have. It's kind of redundant. But with ceiling lamps, we can do all manner of things. We got garden lights, which we can place in here. I definitely think that helps the vibe. Another cool thing I've realized is that all of these can be switched on and off just by right-clicking. Let's see if this works. Oh, it totally does. Okay, we can do neat stuff like that. Opens up a lot of possibilities. I love screwing around with things that I don't even necessarily think will look good. We can probably replace that too. Nice. Not really the intended use case, but we can use some of these new trapdoors to line the walls. Why not, right? Now what I want to know is, what are the actual views like from inside the place? Pretty neat. In fact, I think we're going to want to make these views even better. Hang on. Trapdoor. Now you can come even closer for an even better view and see the mine. Yep. But of course, what about from the balcony? That's pretty neat. We can see the fire watchtower over there. And there we have it. Everything perfectly in its place. We made the roof marginally better. Marginally. It's still looking kinda cropped up. But I would say we pretty much succeeded in all our goals. Added a little bit of extra dimension to this area. But what should we work on now? Preferably something actually spooky. We do have a theme here, remember? Oh, hey audience. Didn't see you there. I'm just surveying for the entrance to the new build site. Why do I need to find it, you ask? Well, because I used Amulet to place it, so I'd have an easier time doing it. It's something that has been requested for a while that I've known I was going to do. But actually, it's with the new window mod that we have a pretty good opportunity to actually see it through. Problem is, there we go. Hidden underneath the leaf cover. Let's go ahead and put a lamp right there. Yep, in here should be a good place to do it. Really, this kind of reminds me of the area underneath the sandbox map in Halo 3. But in the meantime, we've got a couple of small changes to facilitate expanding in this direction, and one of them is the long-requested bridge over this river. So now, right here past the gas station, into what is intended to be a more rural part of town, you can go over this rusting old bridge. I like to imagine that it was part of the mining infrastructure in the area, but now it just serves as a roadway for tourists who have never heard of this town to suddenly find themselves here. They certainly weren't coming for this place, but they will probably enjoy their stay. I also, while working on this, realized these rusty old fridges out here are kinda creepy. I mean, I imagine opening these and seeing some Resident Evil 7 concoction waiting inside. And then I thought to myself, what if there were some discarded ones from the past? And so there's another one, in rougher shape even, down here by the river, containing the rotted remains of some long missing person that would be very difficult to identify even with DNA now. There's a legend that if you wander in the woods outside of town at night, in just the right time and place, you'll end up, without even realizing, crossing into another world. Crossing may be a bit generous. But anyway, we're going to be building down here. You're being so blatant. Like I'm in your house and you don't have to follow the usual rules I wasn't even aware of. Yeah, I was initially going to do the correct wavy pattern of the floor of this, but it really didn't look good using the much larger patterns of white and black concrete, so this is close enough. It's really cool how that one little pinprick in the ceiling is able to let so much light in. Well, by contrast of that darkness, it definitely makes a big difference, doesn't it? And we've already got some denizens. I was thinking, okay, how am I going to do the ceiling? Because we don't actually see it in the show. And I think just really high up and really dark is going to be the way to do it. We'll start from the ceiling using these as anchors. And the cool thing about these curtain blocks is that they can actually be arranged in a number of ways. Left, right, parted one way, parted the other. All kinds of different patterns that they can be put in. It's so cool. And you can walk right through it, or just leave it completely closed. So that makes these a supremely useful set of blocks, and there's a huge variety of them. I mean, forget the Red Room, this place would be crazy to come upon even in its current state, wouldn't it? I'm more or less basing this off of a Gmod map that I actually downloaded of the same thing. But it itself is based on what little we see of the show, so I think that should be a good enough reference as any. Now that we've got our room layout, this just has to go all the way to the top pretty much in every slot. Placing the curtains along this dark wall, assuming you managed to keep the order up without the UI showing. Almost looks like the opening credits to something, doesn't it? When even the building looks surreal, you know you're doing something right. The other question I'm starting to have is just how I'm gonna light this place. It's gonna be pretty hard hiding the sources, and we can't just have regular electric lights on the walls. I'm kinda hoping that there's a decent amount of light bleed through from these things. Then again, they're curtains, so am I hoping things work that way? I don't know. And that's structure complete. Now we just need to figure out how all this works, both in terms of how it's going to be lit and how you're actually going to get here. Because remember, I want everything to be accessible from regular survival. First time using this stuff outside the graveyard in a while. So you're going to go back here, and we're going to have to do a little bit of manipulation to make this one work the way I want. There we go, change the scale. And that's looking pretty neat. It's actually amazing how well we were able to approximate this. Only problem, there's too much natural light getting through, I think. So we're gonna need to do something about this. Now, I don't know if we're gonna keep it this way, but we can also always aesthetically part the curtains like this, which I think is really, really neat. Alright, there is a way out now, and you pretty much have to poke through the wall and come out back here. And there'll be just a little red staircase that carries you slowly back up into normalcy. I suppose you could also just have this be your regular entrance. The problem with having certain things be lost in the thick brush is that it'll probably be the only area with thick brush, so it makes it pretty obvious where to look. So let's cover this up as much as possible. And try to extend it as much into the other area surrounding it as possible. This is the problem I always have. Now, to set the scene for you for how this is intended to be taken, imagine this scenario. You're walking in the woods, there's no one around, and your phone is dead. You haven't seen civilization in hours, but you see a light up there from the tower. It's the TV station. Maybe somebody's home. You're pushing through all this tall grass, trying to figure out how to get there, when all of a sudden, whoop! And that'll be open. But whoop, you fall down, and straight into the red room. Now we've just got to finish decorating for proper lighting. Yeah, let's just put this away. Look at how spooky that looks. Oh, wouldn't you want to see what's around the corner? Okay, we're going to need another armor stand at the end, if memory serves. Come on, how spooky is that? We need some screenshots of this. I'm so happy with how this is coming out. There are so many, like, first-time mods in this that are proving to be invaluable for these projects, and it's crazy. But we are still looking for ways to make this work as far as lighting, and I think we could try something like this. Let's see how this will behave when placed against these. You'll go floating up there, and only there. Well, it's so high up, it kind of breaks the illusion a little bit, but not really. It sort of makes it, actually, doesn't it? Just provided you don't look inside any of the rooms. I am actively amazed at how well these actually tiled together. But now we have this. We unfortunately couldn't really do like a blue light. I tried having these back here behind this, but it didn't really achieve the desired effect. But there we go. But look at that. Now, I'm sure there's other things we can put in here as well. We may need to figure out a way to have some kind of nerve-ending sentient tree. But I'd say minimalism is definitely the name of the game when it comes to something like this. Is it even worth getting rid of the bats? They're probably just going to respawn. We managed to mostly hide the light sources, which is crazy, except for the ones we want you to see. I really wanted to make these like regular lamps, and we've got some good new ones that we can put on poles, but they just didn't tile very well. But we can mess around with that some more. In any case, if you want to get out of here, it's actually pretty easy. You just gotta look behind the curtain and climb your way out. Of course, you still have the problem of being lost in the woods, but maybe by the daylight you emerge into, you'll be better able to spot the peak of Building 93 in the distance, or better yet, the tower from the TV studio. Also, I know you've spent a lot of time on this already, but I made another change to this building off camera. The dining area is now fully complete. Don't ask about this, we don't have a kitchen or anything like that, but well, it makes down here feel a little bit more like a lobby, or rather, down here is the lobby, here is the actual event. But imagine being able to walk out onto your balcony and look down and see people dining. What does that feel like community-wise? Do you feel more connected than ever, or somehow weirdly more detached? Like you're a ghost that's haunting some place that isn't meant to be a place people live. I know it's a busy work thing, but I definitely feel how cool is that. like we could use more regular suburban space, so I think we'll start building across the street from the spook house. Hello? You guys are truly stupid. You know that? No wonder I haven't been seeing anybody. There's like 1 or 2 people still walking the streets. Most of you get stuck on couches, never to emerge. Well, to be fair, I relate to that impulse. Alright, look. Let's find out. Are you guys capable of using things like ladders? Come on, right here. It's real easy. Could not be easier. Guess we'll just carve your way out. Careful, guys. It's getting dark. Why are you so happy about this? Where is this level up coming from? One of you is already stuck again. Come on, the rest of you can do it. Oh, what? Do you feel like you're saved enough? I don't even know how many times I've bailed you guys out of a bad situation. You're clearly trying to get back. I think it might only be because it's nighttime. Come on. There's beds enough for all of you. No, you cannot just claim a mansion because nobody lives there. Although imagine if that were how it worked. Is somebody hanging out in the witch's house? Hanging out with cats in the rain. I can't imagine a better life than this. I mean, things can get better, of course, if you close the door. It helps a lot with comfort when it comes to cold weather. It's like some kind of reverse Passover where I have to walk around closing everybody's door so they don't lose their firstborn. I do have to remind myself from time to time, though, to walk around at street level during events like this. Seeing it for what it is, rather than from a bird's eye view, helps ground it and remind us of what we're actually building all this for. It's called the creepy and comfy creative world, after all. All this is some of the first buildings we worked on. And I'm realizing I cared much more for detail back then. That's what I tried to recapture with the expansion to Possum Springs. Oh, you're just there to remind them, be passive-aggressive about them locking you out? Okie dokie. There you go. You had to make sure that your arrival was timed properly. You need to make an entrance, and you can't do that without the clap of thunder at the moment you open the door. It is so, like, actually dark. I don't even have a point right now. I'm just, taking this moment to walk around and appreciate all that we've done. But I think if there's one issue I'm discovering, it's that it functions a little bit too linearly. A lot of the time I have these branches that go out and may have things to the sides, but they all tend to end at a fixed point. Each thing its own branch. There's not a whole lot of connectivity on this side of the river. So maybe that's something we can make it a goal to change. Like, look, I'm crossing the bridge from the suburban area into town, and aside from a couple of buildings, it feels like we haven't really gotten anywhere until we reach the commercial district. And we can go around to... Actually, no, we don't. There's nothing on the left side of City Hall. That's the road leading to the farm. The real split, the fork in the road, happens here at the diner. Okay, it's only when I view this place as a citizen that I realize what needs to be done. This is looking a little bit too out of the way. The commercial district is in its own corner, and it shouldn't be. It should be connected. So we're going to have a road that runs back around here. We can still put stuff in this flat area in front of the TV station. Let's make it so you can actually see, first of all. And it's going to connect back up with over here. That'll give us the opportunity to... Yeah, I suppose we can put stuff over here so long as it terminates before the farm road. Because we still want the farm road to be the farm road. Cool. Good choice going down there. You guys have been saying that the autumn colors are crying out for it, that this town has kind of the vibe of this setting. And now that I played it, I feel like we are due for a reference. So what could this side of town need? Well, all our services are here, fire and police, so there's definitely room in the commercial district for another school. And I'm thinking the perfect creepy and comfy school would be perhaps the one from Deltarune. There's a short little path to the doorway here. So we'll just use some Diorite running bond, which is something that we have not used yet. You obviously can't build it to exact relative dimensions because the inside of the school is huge compared to the portrayal of the outside. But I think we should be able to get a pretty good approximation. Thankfully, we kind of have the perfect set of doors for this scenario. There we are. And now we just need to figure out where these classroom walls go. We're going to have to exaggerate the windows a bit if we want this, but really that's no big deal. It's actually looking fairly proportional. One thing that I wasn't sure of how to do, and I'm alt-tabbing out now to look at a reference, is there's these columns. There's these columns on the front of the school. They're between these two front windows and the building itself, and actually, that should be fairly easy. Let's just make sure that there's actual grass here that'll get the ball rolling, or growing. And if we use something like a white wall, that shouldn't be much of an issue. So here we are. Yeah, it's something of a column. Let's double it up, and then we can have something up there over the front, like some sort of banner. These will all open in one big piece. This is our first use of these things. And now I've just got to tile this up. We are going to have a second floor to this, where we'll have some creative freedom, since this school doesn't appear to actually have a staircase anywhere. I'm just imagining what my 15-year-old self would think if he saw me doing this series. Like, actually having an audience building stuff like this. And it's not like these builds are anything special. People do some crazy stuff. But, like, all of this is wild. Even at the time, it would have been insane to think that we would still be playing so many of the same games 15 years later. Look at that. It's even got similar shadows spalling over. Yeah, I'm kind of having to guess at the windows here, 2 dimensions and all. This school, Macaw's, also gives us access to different types of desk. I really can't believe how specifically and handy these mods are coming in this episode. But there we are, according to my reference, 9 desks. And here they are, that's 1 classroom complete. I kind of like the idea of Alphys and Toriel having distinct classrooms. So this one is pretty bare. We'll throw some posters and such up on the wall. And here is Toriel's. She's got a nice ornate desk and chair, something a little bit more rustic. Hiding in the sealed room of a school. A school that is meant to feel somewhat old and lived in, but is currently under construction. Well, that was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Next time you do that, I won't even be able to see you. Hang on. Yeah, I spend half the time playing this lean back. Hang on, let me get back into position so I can commentate a little bit. So, in the game, there's a little squeeze at the end of the hall here. No doubt to make you narrow your focus as you're heading into the Beyond section of this Bed Bath & Beyond. And I can't really account for it. Any of the overhead maps show that it is there, but there's nothing really in there. So I figure if we're going to have staircases, bathrooms, stuff like this, maybe we can just stick them in there. Those maps also show that this back hallway is a bit narrower, so that makes things at least a tiny bit easier. I think the black concrete is up again, because we need to make this place feel nice and dark. It's not going to be quite as wide as it looks from the outside. And this is going to be an absolutely lightless room. I love how it almost doesn't seem to be attached to anything up there. Oh, these views are awesome. Yeah, a lot of busy work with this. There are two challenges that remain to be seen now, and that's how do we do the second floor. It's probably just going to be mostly a clone of the first one, maybe a little shorter. The other thing is how do we handle the entrance to the Dark World? Do you have some suggestions for me? There we go, you've got your banner up there. And there would be a thing in here that says school. Unfortunately, there's not really too good a way to actually make that happen, so instead we're just gonna make a little carve out here. These have to be stacked vertically. And just a little thing to indicate that there is a sign there. Why is this looking weirdly in proportion? This kinda worked out. I'm now realizing this might actually be one of the biggest buildings on the map in terms of floor space. I just don't usually go floor plan first. I try to get the skeleton first, despite saying that I won't do that 1,000,000,001 times. Taking a bit of a liberty here with the stairs, because, well, we need to. Seriously, in-game, I don't think there's any actual way to get up here, but we clearly see it from the outside. It would also make way, way more sense for the stairs to start going up from in here, but that's not how it is in-game, so this is where we're doing it. And this is going to be pretty cookie-cutter, I don't really care about it. It's probably going to just mirror downstairs. Now working up here all alone is kinda creepy at night. I mean, it's an old school building, of course it's going to be, but this is supposed to be more on the comfy side of creepy and comfy. I guess it kind of reminds me of... So, at the time I'm recording this, I just recorded a reading that concerned the narrator being, like, a teenager who did, like, basically off-the-books construction and demolition jobs. And they were out at this place in the Mojave, a random abandoned house that was being flipped. And they were just left out there at this house in the middle of the desert alone, and just tearing up floors and doing stuff like that. And the boss ended up forgetting them there. And so there they are, just working as it gets darker and darker, nobody around for miles, and starting to hear more and more things inside this creepy old house. Can't help but think of that in a time like this. Actually, it sort of reminds me of when we were moving into this house, the house I currently live in. This is like 05, 06. The house needed like a ton of work. There were so many illegal and not up to code things about it. And so the whole thing was gutted and being worked on for like a year before we actually moved in. And a couple of times I went out and actually got to help. I got to knock down the wall over in the guest room with a sledgehammer. That felt awesome. And I would always get really creeped out. Like, we put on an extra floor upstairs, and I would just be in that new construction, and I'd be up there, like, vacuuming up the dust and all, and there'd be nobody else in the house, and I'd just be looking around and, like, realize it's totally silent. And all the walls are open, so it's creating just, like, a maze of beams and planks, and I don't know, it despite being brand new, looked like someplace where there'd been a fire. I've never really consciously focused on it. I guess I do have something of a weird fear about construction sites. I think a big part of it is the distraction, because if you're in this place, you're probably doing some kind of work, maybe with headphones in. And eventually that eerie feeling is just going to start nagging at you, and then you look around and you're like, oh heck, it's gotten way darker than I realized. And everybody else has gone home. Okay, this is set up here. Just gotta do the walls. This is unintentional, but I just realized there's something of a gradient to the height of the buildings there. I like how it kind of leads up and draws the eye to the top of 93 from the Founders Building. I never really had a use for the flower boxes until now, but they're actually kind of one of the most prominent features of the front of this school. And it just looks sort of weird without them. So we can go like that. Just stick a couple of those in each of these. We can put them at pretty much any elevation we want. Look at this. There are grass roofs. That almost seems like it would be a little bit more accurate to the game. I'm trying all different things. Because there are these big bushes that have, like, flowers in them. If only we could plant some on all this stuff. But yeah, that looks about right. What absolute perfection in terms of the texture for this wool block. This is the disused room next to the maintenance closet. And yeah, we'll just throw something like this over in the corner. That makes it seem more like things are scattered all over the place. You wouldn't think this would be the case, but actually Toriel's the only one to have modernized, the only one who's actually using a whiteboard instead of the blackboards. And there's this whole big story time cutout in the back that's gotta go. Well, yeah, and even the magenta should be fine. Oh, let's do something fun like this. That looks more on brand. There we go. Toriel's classroom gets a complete overhaul. Otherwise, I think we're about good on the details for now. What's important is actually completing the entire main purpose of this place, which is what happens when we get to the end of the hall here. Even without the doors on it, it's completely black. Or almost completely. This place will have you falling an absolutely long way in the dark. And as for what you actually find when you get down here, or how you get back up, I don't know yet, but I'm probably going to do at least some limited something that's a further reference, because we've come this far, I'm not going to stop at something shallow. But as for the way back, I've been giving that some thought, and I think this might be the first use on this world of nether portals. I think you could do some real shenanigans with that. It works pretty well is what I'm realizing. Let's just hope nobody ever needs some chalk. But yeah, I think that's just about all the time I have for now. And I'm pretty happy with all the work we've done today. We got that new building over there, giving some depth to Possum Springs. We've got, of course, the Deltarune School here with potential for so much more underground. And I feel like with this, we're starting to get back to the real, like, secrets of this. It's been so long since I really focused on detail in the environments. But detail is what makes this so special. We've got the promise of being able to expand over here across the river. And with that, we got the new bridge, a gruesome new Easter egg. Just imagine how long that person might have been there. I wonder if the gas station owner is up to anything, or if it's just an unfortunate accident from decades ago. Person searched for all this time, nobody knowing that they're right here at home. And of course, finally, not in terms of construction, just in terms of what I'm getting to right now, the Red Room, which is also an Easter egg accessed by falling down. That looks super cool.
Yes, sorry. Hipster win in a reverse. If you want this video. Please remember like, comment, and subscribe for more free and comfy content. If you have any ideas for other videos, even should they us please such as will be every this one. Wish I would mind young description. If you want, you support me on Israel. That Lincoln law also he in her description. And as always, I will see you in the next one.